Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending today's webinar. My name is Courtney Forehand. I'm the Training and Marketing Specialist at CML. Today's presentation is going to be posted on our website at www.cml.org/COVID-19, and there will be a section under webinars where you'll be able to find this information. This webinar is also being recorded and is going to be posted to our YouTube site. For those of you who are not familiar with the webinar format, you should see a control panel on the top right of your screen. There's an orange arrow to the left of the panel that will minimize the entire box. All participants will be muted for the entire webinar, but we are encouraging people to ask questions by typing them into the question box on the control panel. We will hold a Q&A near the end of the webinar, but please feel free to type the questions as you think of them throughout the presentation. At this point, I'm going to hand things over to my colleague, Brandy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today over the lunch hour. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to sit through this webinar. I think that you'll find that it's full of a lot of good information and resources. I want to do a quick introduction of myself. My name is Brandy DeLang. I am a legislative and policy advocate here at the Colorado Municipal League. And today we're very fortunate we have somebody that I go way back with. And also has substantial experience in local government, both as a city council member and a former county commissioner as well. We have USDA Rural Development State Director, Sally Clark. Sally, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. So thank you all for listening in today. As Brandy said, I'm a former CML member, as a Colorado Springs City Council member, and also I was a longtime county commissioner. And I'm really very grateful to have the opportunity to share with you some information about how we can help you with the issues related to the current pandemic that we're experiencing here in Colorado. So I will tell you, I'm a little new at driving these things, and hopefully I'm trying to make sure that I share the screen that's supposed to be on here, and maybe I'm going to ask Amy, how do I get rid of that up there? Sorry, I don't want to disconnect myself at the same time. So I'm just going to continue to go through these, and I apologize if GoToWebinar is up in my screen. Oops. But let's see.
There we can see your PowerPoint.
You can see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to start first of all by just talking about a little bit of rural development, and I think this will be really relevant to the towns and cities that are in Colorado, especially those in rural Colorado. You're going to have a big struggle, not only now, but in the future. And as all of us at some point, probably in our elected careers or as local community folks, we've dealt with some kind of disaster at some point. And so moving forward, I wanted to go over some things that not only we're doing directly through USDA Rural Development for the COVID-19 epidemic and pandemic. We are working also continually to help you with infrastructure needs. So I'm going to start with really the ABCs of rural development. So if you think about three things, ABC, we do affordable housing, we do business and economic development, and we do community infrastructure. It's an easy way to remember what it is that we offer as it relates to rural development. We are here to help you improve your economy and your quality of life. And through our 40+ programs, we can help rural Americans in many ways, and especially Colorado's rural towns and cities. USDA Rural Development offers loans, grants, and loan guarantees so that you can help and our communities can create jobs and support economic development and essential services. Those can include everything from housing to healthcare to first responder services and equipment, water and electric, and communications infrastructure. We provide economic development by supporting loans to businesses through banks, credit unions, and lending pools, and we offer technical assistance and information to help agricultural producers and cooperatives get started and improve the effectiveness of their operations. Because we know at Rural Development that when rural America thrives, all of America thrives. So just remember the ABCs. A is for affordable housing. I know that when I travel throughout the state, one of the biggest things that I hear from local communities is the difficulties you have providing affordable housing. So our housing programs in rural Colorado give families and individuals an opportunity to buy, build, and repair safe and affordable homes in rural America. The eligibility for our home loans, loan guarantees, and grants is based on income and varies according to the average median household income for each area. And then we also have funding to improve the housing stock through our home repair loan and grant program. And essentially try and keep those folks who are older or disabled or those who might not otherwise be able to afford to keep up with their home to keep them in their own home. We also provide affordable multifamily rental housing in rural areas, and we finance projects that are geared towards low-income, elderly, and disabled individuals and families, as well as farm labor. Now, B is for business, so our business programs provide financial backing and technical assistance to stimulate business creation, growth, and economic development. And these programs help provide the capital, the equipment, space, job training, and entrepreneurial skills that can help to start and or grow a business. And they can also help save and create quality jobs in rural areas. And finally, probably most specifically relevant to cities and towns throughout Colorado is C, which is for community infrastructure. Our community facilities programs funding provides the ability to develop and improve essential public services and facilities across rural America. This is the bricks and mortar which builds local towns and cities. They basically helps to attract and retain businesses that provides employment and services. And you all know that if we don't have a Main Street USA, there's no heart or soul to a community. So providing that assistance is extremely important. And then finally, through our community facilities programs, we also offer water and environmental programs, which provide rural communities with both technical assistance and financing for drinking water and waste disposal systems. So that's really an overview of what we do at Rural Development. And now I'm going to get into talking about more specifically about what we are doing with relation to COVID-19. So before we get on to what we're doing to assist, I wanted to make sure that you know that USDA Rural Development just opened a second application window for the distance learning and telemedicine program. And as it relates to that, the distance learning and telemedicine program will help rural residents tap into the enormous potential of telecommunications and the internet for education and healthcare. And I would underscore how important that is in today's world of what we're seeing with everyone having to meet via teleconference like we are today, in addition to providing education and telemedicine for our rural communities. This program will help our rural communities tap into telecommunications and connect each other better to the world and help us overcome the effects of remoteness and low population densities. For example, this program can link teachers and medical service providers in one area to students and patients in another. When we look at the distance learning and telemedicine program, this is round 2 of the grant process overview. A few program specifics that I would mention for round 2 are that the maximum grant amount has been raised to $1 million. And that still would require a 15% match, and electronic applications are required. I think as we look at the what we call DLT, one of the things that provides a scoring category boost would be if it deals with substance use disorder and opportunity zones, and in addition to that, STEM education. Then just to remind you who's eligible, here's the applicant eligibility of essentially incorporated Indian tribes or tribal organizations, state or local units of government, and other legal entities based on private corporations that are organized for-profit or nonprofit basis. For more information, and Brandy will have this information available to you, and you can always contact me as well. Brian Smith is what we call our telecom general field representative. He represents 3 different states, but he is the expert in the DLT applications. So we are also having a webinar that's coming up on May 7th at 9 a.m. So if you'd like to sign up for that, we'll be happy to get you the information on that regarding the distance learning and telemedicine grant applications. Now we're going to go on to the overall message of USDA rural development and our immediate actions to help rural residents. I will say that what is different, I think, about U.S. Department of Agriculture rural development is that we are only rural. So those of you that think that sometimes everyone forgets the small communities throughout the state, that's what we target. And those are the only folks that we're going to be working with. We understand that urban areas have their needs as well, but our focus is to help rural America, and in particular here in Colorado, to help rural Colorado. So we are here to help rural residents, businesses, and communities that have been affected by the COVID-19 outbreak. The agency has announced temporary exceptions to help our rural Americans who've been affected by COVID-19. Under these provisions, residents, businesses, and communities may qualify for deferral flexibilities, forbearances, payment assistance, relaxed application processes, reduced payments, and eviction moratoriums. And we've begun to implement the resources provided to USDA Rural Development via the CARES Act. This is intended to keep our customers, our partners, and our stakeholders to be continuously updated on our new and changing actions. And the agency recently announced a COVID-19 resource page. What you see here on the screen is just an example of the page. We have this information also included, but it's rd.usda.gov, and then it's /coronavirus. So to support our rural communities and neighbors that have been affected by the COVID-19 outbreak, we've launched not only the web page that contains a collection of resources related to the pandemic response, but we've also included the content so that it's being updated and refreshed every day as things change. And we know they are changing quickly with different financing and funding opportunities that are coming through Congress at the national level. So a series also of frequently asked questions is available, and you can tap into that to update current borrowers and stakeholders. We also have links to the CDC and the USDA main websites to access federal partner resources. So essentially, you can find the one-stop shop with links to other agencies that may be providing additional resources that aren't directly related to USDA rural development, but that certainly can partner with you to provide additional resources in different areas. So here a little bit just of the Federal Rural Resource Guide. The Rural Development Innovation Center and the Office of External Affairs collaborated to create the Federal Rural Resource Guide. And that's where the links to a lot of information will help you out. And this guide lists all federal funding services that are available for rural communities, businesses, healthcare facilities, and residents that have been impacted by COVID-19. This guide will help our rural leaders, such as you, with capacity, help you understand what federal assistance is available during this unprecedented time. Now we'll go to the immediate actions that we have taken on behalf of Rural Housing Service. And just to underscore, Rural Housing Service also includes the Community Facilities Direct and Guaranteed Loan Program. It is not just housing. But here's a few things. Effective March 19th, our current borrowers with USDA single family housing direct and guaranteed loans, so direct come directly through USDA, and guaranteed loans we work with banks, are subject to a moratorium on foreclosure and eviction for a period of 60 days. Effective immediately upon receiving a request for forbearance from a borrower who attests to financial hardship directly or indirectly caused by COVID-19, the lenders will provide immediate forbearance of the borrower's single-family housing guaranteed loan payment for a period of up to 180 days. A direct loan borrower through USDA who's experiencing a reduction of income by more than 10% can request a payment assistance package to see if he or she is eligible for payment assistance or for more assistance than is currently received. And moratorium assistance is available for direct loan borrowers experiencing medical bill expenses that are not covered by insurance or job loss because of COVID-19. USDA has also waived and relaxed certain parts of the application process for single-family housing direct loans. So if you know of someone who wants to buy a home and they live in a rural area and they come to us, we are going to be able to help them more quickly, including site assessments, and we've extended the time period that certificates of eligibility are valid. What I would like to say as well is that we are open for business. Even though some of our folks are working from home, we do have limited accessibility to our field offices, of which we have 6 field offices around the state, as well as a main office in Denver. Our staff is working every single day. So there should not be any problem getting in touch with us on any of these issues. If you have folks that know they want to buy a home, we can help them immediately. If they need help with their payments, we can help them immediately. And then I'm going to talk briefly about our multifamily housing programs and our community facilities. So in terms of multifamily housing, we are offering immediate assistance for rural development tenant vouchers, including payment assistance, postponement or cancellation of unit inspections, and eviction moratoriums. Tenant certifications are which were due March 31st, April 30th, and May 31st, have been extended to June 30th with no late fees. Late fees on rural rental housing loan mortgages will be waived, and that's for those that own those housing facilities. Under the Community Facilities Direct and Guaranteed Loan Program, and I will say that again, underscoring, we are open for business. If you have community facility needs, we want you to contact us because we can help you. Effective April 21st, borrowers with a community facilities direct loan can receive up to 1 year of payment and interest deferrals. And until September 30th, lenders can offer 180-day loan payment deferrals without prior agency approval. So if your city or town has a loan with us and you're having difficulty paying that loan, you need to contact us because we can help you with loan payment deferrals. And we can do it more quickly because of what the agency has done to process those more expediently. Guaranteed lenders, which would go through a bank, can also approve and make covered loans under the Small Business Administration's Paycheck Protection Program. And guaranteed lenders, which would go through a bank, notify USDA Rural Development of any covered loans made under the Small Business Administration's Paycheck Protection Program. As we look at the ability for us to also serve under let's say utilities, the Water and Waste Disposal Loan Guarantee Program. Until September 30th, lenders can offer 100-day loan payment deferrals without prior agency approval. So that's a pretty easy process if you have a water and wastewater loan with us, we can work with you. Our guaranteed lenders can also approve and make covered loans under the Small Business Administration's Paycheck Protection Program. And guaranteed lenders, again, go through USDA to let us know of any covered loans under the Small Business Administration's Paycheck Protection Program. Under the telecom side, the application deadline for the Reconnect pilot program was extended to April 15th. And I know now that has passed, but I will say that we have some excellent applications that have come in for Colorado to help you with rural broadband. It seems like daily we work with the state of Colorado and the state broadband office to work with them to make sure we're getting the best up-to-date information. We have actually, that deadline for the borrower audit submissions has been extended for 60 days. And we are also potentially expecting another round here at some point this year for the telecom and electric programs. Our administrator, Chad Roop, who actually is a former state director for USDA Rural Development from Wyoming, will also consider water and wastewater requests to waive certain site inspection requirements during COVID-19, so to prevent project delays. So if you're coming to us and you have a water and wastewater project, we can make sure that we work with you to get that through as quickly as possible, because we know without clean and safe water, communities can't exist. USDA has also modified our public notice requirement for applicants to include video conferencing and teleconferencing, and to issue our public notices on websites and local newspapers. So when we get to additional immediate actions, this is under our Rural Business Cooperative Service. So under the B for Business, effective March 31st through September 30th, lenders can offer 180-day loan payment deferrals without prior agency approval for business and industry loan guarantees and the Rural Energy for America program loan guarantees. Guaranteed lenders can also approve and make covered loans under the Small Business Administration's Paycheck Protection Program. And the lenders also notify USDA Rural Development in writing of any covered loans that are made under the Small Business Administration's Paycheck Protection Program. Rural Business Cooperative Services intermediary borrowers continue to have authority to service loan portfolios and independent of USDA. So those intermediary borrowers participating in those programs can approve loan payment deferrals to their borrowers without USDA approval. That can include everything from the intermediary relending program known as IRP, the Rural Business Development Grants, which some of your communities may have, the RBDG, Rural Economic Development Loan and Grant, which is called Red Leg, that runs through a utility, essentially through an REA, and the Rural Micro Entrepreneur Assistance Program, known as RMAP. For existing intermediary relending program and Rural Economic Development Loan borrowers, the agency can maintain well-capitalized intermediary lenders and will work with you on loan servicing requests on a case-by-case basis. Application deadlines for the Rural Business Development Grant Program and Rural Energy for America program were extended to April 15th. And I will say we've gotten quite a few applications that will be helping our rural communities throughout Colorado. But always pay attention to the next round, because these are ongoing programs that we can continue to help you with. As it relates to the CARES Act implementation with our business and industry guaranteed loan programs, we were granted over $20 million in program funding, which is enough to subsidize up to $1 billion in lending authority. Repayment terms have been increased with options for deferment, and operational expenses, including payroll, salaries, benefits, and facility costs, supplies, and inventory are also eligible. We are expecting soon additional information on working with the Business and Industry Loan Program on working capital, and soon we will be able to get additional information on how we can help businesses with that working capital that's coming out of the CARES Act. As it relates to the Reconnect program, we have USDA is going to use the $100 million that was provided for the Reconnect program to invest in qualified 100% grant projects that did not receive funding in the program's first round of Reconnect program investments. So for those communities that applied that were not successful in round one, they have reapplied in round two, and they will be considered for funding. Round one applicants could be eligible due to subsequent rule changes on current broadband access in their proposed service area. I know there's always a struggle with trying to make sure that the data is accurate and working with the FCC. And they can also submit an application during the second round. Now, as it relates to that, we are expecting potentially more money, and I know Congress is putting forth more support for broadband, and the administration as well, especially for rural areas. So you might want to keep track and make sure that you're aware of any new deadlines that are coming forward when new funding becomes available. When it comes to distance learning and telemedicine under the CARES Act, rural development was provided an additional $25 million for the distance learning and telemedicine grant program. That is going to be added to the available funding in the second round application window, which is open from April 14th through July 13th. And I believe I mentioned previously that we're going to be holding a webinar on May 7th. So I would encourage those, if you're interested, to sign up for that, or make sure that those entities that might be eligible for the DLT program sign up to participate in that webinar. In addition to that, our single family and multifamily housing assistance, our borrowers for multifamily housing can request forbearance if they're experiencing a financial hardship, and residents that live in our USDA financed multifamily housing properties cannot be evicted due to non-payment of rent for the next 120 days. Owners are also prohibited from charging late fees or penalizing tenants who are unable to pay rent. And then finally, our website and social media links. Our main website of rd.usda.gov/co can direct you to information and resources on all of our programs, whether directly related to COVID-19 or not. The single best source of information on USDA Rural Development's COVID-19 response is on our dedicated page, which is rd.usda.gov/coronavirus. That also includes, as a reminder, the resource guide for all kinds of federal agencies that have resources for rural communities. And all updates and announcements and information is also communicated via our Twitter page. So please follow us on @USDA-RD and @RD_Colorado. I know a lot of you have Twitter and you watch that, so we appreciate also CML making sure that we work a lot with them in retweeting their announcements, and I know that they're helpful about retweeting things that we post to keep you up to date. And if you go to our website at the rd.usda.gov/co and go to the bottom, you can actually subscribe to not just our Colorado updates, which we do a monthly newsletter, but in addition to that, all kinds of stakeholder notices that may be of interest to you. So while following the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's direction for social distancing in the midst of all of this COVID-19 pandemic, rural development continues to provide our excellent customer service and work from remote operational status. And I will underscore again, we are open for business. we are here to help rural Colorado. So please contact your local rural development office for assistance. A fact sheet is available on the rd.usda.gov/coronavirus page with expanded information on each of rural development's immediate actions of that we are taking. Thank you for listening in today. As a former local elected official, I know the struggles that you're dealing with of providing constituent services amidst difficulties with financials. And I will also say and underscore that having to work in the recovery phase is going to be a challenge, because I know the urban areas may recover a little more quickly because just of their stakeholders and the folks that live in their areas, and I think the sheer numbers, where it's going to be more of a struggle for rural Colorado. So if there are ways that we can help you or act as a conduit to point you to resources that can assist you in your recovery from this and just maintaining your services during tough economic times, rural development through U.S. Department of Agriculture, and specifically here in Colorado, is here to help. Thank you very much. And now I will turn it back over to, I think, to Courtney or Brandy to facilitate if we have any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Sally. That was a great overview. And I'm certain that we got questions. So Courtney, do you want to go ahead and open up those questions and start to go through them?
Sure. So the only question that I have at this moment is from Miranda, and she's just curious if these slides will be sent out after the webinar. Amy and Sally, are you guys okay with us posting the slides onto our website?
Yes, absolutely. That would be fine.
Okay, so that is the only question I have for now. I can give it a couple of minutes to in case anybody has any questions. Brandy, do you want to say anything else?
Yeah, so Sally, I think you did a nice job about talking about kind of transitioning into the recovery phase, excuse me. And as we begin to do that, do you have any thoughts specifically around what rural development can do or help or assist with when we have local governments who are starting to bring back employees and trying to provide services at their full level, but unfortunately, we'll have to also adhere to certain social distancing protocols and ensure the safety of their employees as well as of the constituents that are using those services.
Well, I know that there's no easy answer to recovery, and as someone who dealt with actually forest fire recovery for a number of years, it was a very difficult time and long and hard. What I will say is that we are here to try and help with infrastructure. And just because we've had this pandemic going on, as things start to bounce back, you're still going to have those community needs. You still may need to get additional furnishings for a library. You still are going to need maybe to build a new daycare center or expand on a hospital, or look for new telemedicine equipment in your hospital so that you can get doctors that can do telemedicine from Denver to a small area, like let's say in maybe Ray, Colorado. You're going to be looking at ways to provide that infrastructure for the constituents that you serve. In addition to that, as we look at our business abilities to reach out, we can help you with planning studies. We can help you with getting through our rural business development grants. We can help you with planning to get things back on track. And actually, I think we have some applications in now for parts of Colorado that have applied for that to help them with the planning phase and economic development, because this isn't going to be a quick flip the switch and things, just automatically come on. Mrs. Smith is still going to need home repairs so that she can stay in her home, and she may be elderly and not be able to afford to get a handicapped ramp or put in new windows or doors or something that helps to retrofit her bathroom or kitchen. And the thing I will say about local elected officials that I admire the most is that you all are part of a bigger system. So you'll sit on your Council of Governments as a member. You will be on the library board. You might be on several nonprofit boards where you hear of things that are necessary in your community that you need help with. If you can act directly with us as something that might be needed for your town or city, and then secondly, think of the ways where you can help us carry the word of all of these programs. It's not easy to go over 40 plus programs in an hour presentation, and we don't necessarily need to do that. But what I will say is that I think the fact that we have so many programs, we can work with anyone. We can work with an individual who needs a house. We can work with a nonprofit or a for-profit business. We can work with an agricultural provider. And then the other piece of this is we can work with a water and sanitation district or a small municipality, all dedicated to providing rural infrastructure and making to build main streets. So if there are questions that the CML members have, please come to me and I'll make sure that you get to the right location and the right, I can act as a conduit as well to reach out to my other USDA agencies.
Great, thank you. And we do have a question. It's from Sandra asking if you know if governments are eligible for the CARES Act grant.
Right, and I guess I would need to know a little bit more about which CARES Act grant Sandra is asking about.
As soon as I know more, I'll let you know.
Okay.
But that is the only question at this point.
Yeah, if it has to do with like the PPP, the Payroll Protection Program, that would be through the Small Business Administration, and I think that is primarily for businesses. So I don't think that local governments are eligible for that program at this point.
She said there is an economic injury one.
Yeah, that would be under the SBA, under Small Business Administration. So you would need to go to probably sba.gov to check out their information. I don't believe that local governments are eligible for those dollars, but I can't speak to that.
Awesome. Okay. Well, those are all the questions that I see on my side. And does anybody, Brandy, do you want to make any closing remarks?
So Sally, just one other thing that I would be interested in having you address, and you made me think about this. Is there an opportunity for regions of smaller municipalities, for instance, to apply for some of the grant funding that's made available through USDA Rural Development? So you mentioned examples of, long-term needs like a daycare or providing telehealth to folks. Is there a way that smaller jurisdictions can kind of band together and leverage their assets in order to apply for some of these dollars?
The answer, Brandy, is yes. And a lot of these dollars aren't necessarily specific to the CARES Act. They are specific to our ongoing programs at rural development. So we always keep the lights turned on and things moving in a forward direction. We do have a community facilities grants program for those local communities that qualify up to $50,000 for equipment, things that might be able to be provided through us. And there is a match for that. but that would be under our community facility grants. In addition to that, for instance, our water and wastewater loans, we also have a grant component for those. So a small, let's say a small water district or a town that provides its own water service can come to us, and a lot of times the grants and the loans are sometimes even in parity of a 50-50. Sometimes actually the water grant, the grant can be larger than the actual loan. It just depends on the financial picture of the local community and the needs. So again, if your town or city has a specific need and they would like to come to us, we just need to know what they need, and then we can tell you how we can help you. And these are ongoing programs, so these are not something that it's not one and done. The other thing I will say is that I try and get on the road as much as possible. And with that, I know right now we're not traveling a whole lot. But once this thing sort of settles down and we flatten the curve and we're back on the road again, or you'd like us to make a webinar presentation to your local council of governments, you'd like to come on and give a presentation on any of our various programs, whether that's housing or business or an economic development or community facilities, I am happy to do that anytime. So all they have to do is reach out to me. The other thing I want to mention is with our loan programs, I know everyone wants a grant and you don't necessarily want to take out a loan. I get that. But our interest rates are very low at USDA Rural Development. So if you do have to take out a loan, we have great loan rates ongoing up to 40 years. So when you amortize that over a 40-year period, that's really going to drop your monthly payments for things that you may need desperately to build a new police station or a new fire station, or you may need a new health department building or something that's coming forward. And if you pay it off early, there's no prepayment penalties. So we're done, and you can either be another loan recipient, or you can be done and you've gotten your project completed in a more timely manner. So I think that there's, what I want to underscore is that our programs are ongoing. They're not something just from the CARES Act, and that's what we're here for, is to help rural Colorado.
That's great. And then lastly, two other things I'm hopeful that you can answer. Can you briefly talk about some of the services that USDA is providing to our ag producers? And also, can you briefly talk about a little bit more in detail some of the broadband grants that are already in existence, specific for rural broadband?
Okay, so under rural development, we have the Value Added Producer Grant, known as VAPG, which can help agricultural producers to develop a marketing plan, to expand their business, give them the ability to get a grant that helps them do a feasibility study, those kinds of things. We don't work always directly with ag, and Farm Service Agency is another part of USDA, which I can certainly put them in touch with my counterpart at FSA, which is Clarice Navarro. But in addition to that, we have the Rural Energy for America program, which can help ag producers as well in lowering their costs for electric and utility costs, and provide solar panels for all kinds of different types of projects. We've done hydro projects, really some interesting renewable energy opportunities there. Related to Reconnect, again, I would like to point out that we have quite a few applications from Colorado for rural broadband. Another part of that is having the distance learning and telemedicine program, which can help provide grants, as I mentioned, and they've increased the amount that you can apply for, which is up to $1 million. I believe it was 500,000 last time. Now it's gone up to $1 million. So that's another piece of it, and that could be used for a library, a school, all kinds of educational opportunities, as well as telemedicine, which we know could be used either for actually telemedicine, or it could be used for behavioral health assistance. We've seen it assist patients with substance misuse and opioid issues. So lots of different programs and lots of different opportunities. And if they go to our website, they can also tap into a sort of a matrix, a guide that has all of our programs listed, that provides information on all of our 40+ programs.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sally. Okay, Courtney, are there any more questions, or have we exhausted the questions at this point?
We do have a question from Kevin. First, he wants to thank Sally and Amy. Thank you guys so much for doing this. He asks if there is another infrastructure bill like ARRA from 2009. Kevin Balmer, sorry, excuse me, to be more specific. He's asking if there's another infrastructure bill like ARRA from 2009, will USDA RD have a role in identifying potential rural water, wastewater infrastructure projects?
Well, I think that we can continue to do the water and wastewater projects. We have funding currently available that didn't necessarily come through the CARES Act and wouldn't be from the previous ARRA money. But again, as I pointed out, we have great interest rates with our water and wastewater projects. I will tell you that just my experience being here with rural development, we've seen really grant loan combos that are very, very beneficial to local communities that otherwise wouldn't be able to do a project. And we also have the ability to help with technical assistance. So these small rural communities that are struggling and they know they need a water project, but they're not exactly sure how to go about it, or they have a wastewater issue that they need to take care of, or they've got simply old infrastructure. That is something that we can help with the planning as well as the actual project itself. And our interest rates change quarterly. I think right now our interest rate for water and wastewater is 2.375%. So that's a really good rate. They change frequently. But I will tell you, that's why we have specialists here in Colorado. Our folks do not only the initial project, they will do the underwriting, they will do the servicing, they will work hand in glove with you to make sure that you feel that you're getting individual attention. And I think that's what makes me so proud of rural development, is we are the boots on the ground. You're not going to just talk to a loan company. You're going to work hand in hand with somebody who is actually lives in Colorado and understands those community needs.
Great, sorry, I had to unmute myself. So those are definitely all the questions that we have. We do have a shout out again from Kevin. He's just saying thank you very much for this presentation and wanting you guys to know that we so very value the relationship and your support in these times. That is all. Brandy, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, so again, thank you, Sally. Thank you, Amy. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to provide this presentation to our membership. Additionally, for folks listening, we will be making sure to post this to our website. It'll be on cml.org/COVID-19 under the webinars tab. You can also find the webinar from yesterday's presentation, the FEMA reimbursement process, under that tab as well. And if you guys have questions, or if you'd like to reach out to Sally or Amy in USDA Rural Development, please go ahead and use those website addresses and social media contacts that they provided, or reach out to me. I'm happy to get you guys connected. Thanks again, guys. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for giving us the opportunity, Brandy, Courtney, and Kevin. Anytime, we're happy to make presentations to talk about our programs that are ongoing to help rural Colorado.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, so thank you everyone for being at our presentation today. Thank you to our presenters for presenting and sharing their knowledge, and thank you to our listeners for attending. Just to repeat what Brandy said, this information will be found on our website by the end of the day. This does conclude our webinar for the day. I hope you all have a nice afternoon. See you next time.